Emily and I were in Atlanta, Georgia to see the home team take the chip. They did not eat the peaches on stage. I was a little disappointed in Celium, but he did take MVP, and he was very impressive. But the peaches were right there,
the peaches.
They were right there.
Not about his performance.
No,
about
it was the
peaches.
They were right there for the taking. No one ate any of them.
I mean, yeah, that could have been a good pop-off.
Yeah, anyway, let's go with this because we do have an interview with Scump coming up in a little bit. But your biggest takeaway from Call of Duty League Atlanta, Emily, let's start with you.
All right, I'm going to squeeze in two. One, Atlanta are right now the team to beat because they came out, they went up against both teams that they were expected to win and then teams that were expected to give them a little bit more trouble, and they performed, they recovered. When Atlanta's guns are going off, like, I'm not sure if there is a team that can stop them. I was impressed by the Rocker, though, in that they were able to go toe-to-toe in some of the gunfights in that match, and it really looked like Atlanta was going to drop it. They recovered in their worst map mode, Domination, so that impressed me. And then, additionally, this league is a lot closer than we thought after this weekend. I think that was actually my most major takeaway, is that there's a whole bunch of teams that can take both maps and series off of each other. I think we saw that this weekend, and so it makes LA a lot more interesting.
Darin?
You know, I'm going to echo a little bit of what Emily said, but I'm not going to say that Atlanta's the team to beat. I'm going to say that Atlanta's a team that can bleed, that people can find ways to beat Atlanta if they can follow through, finish their maps, and FaZe doesn't suddenly start popping off. Rocker in particular went 2-0 before FaZe had to do the reverse sweep. And the Mutineers match was a little bit closer than what people think when they look at the 3-0 scoreline. The first map, okay, whatever, but Gunrunner was a 6-4 search and destroy, a little bit of a back and forth and fair. And then map 3 domination was a 144-136 win for FaZe. Yeah. So it's a little bit closer.
I almost thought Florida were going to sneak that again because they had so many close dom maps throughout the weekend.
Yeah. So FaZe is not unbeatable, and I agree that what Emily said about that there are teams that can take games and maps off of each other, and they're figuring it out. And I think it's really interesting to see how the league is evolving over these course of 2 weeks homestands.
My big takeaway is that a score of 146-145 is not a draw.
Good take. Hot take.
Good to know.
That's
Domination.
my big takeaway.
I love it.
In all seriousness, what I took away from it is the storyline-rich nature of the league. Atlanta overcame adversity. They didn't have any adversity going into this weekend at all. They seemed absolutely dominant, and what they showed was resiliency. That reverse sweep against Minnesota was very impressive for them.
Sure.
Right?
And it goes what we were talking about earlier in the week, where it was just like, are they going to come out hot or are they going to come out slow?
They did come out hot.
Based on what they're 2 weeks off. So.
Yeah. So they were very impressive.
Well, and I mean, my counterpoint to Darin's point is actually that Atlanta do find a way to win. Like, even in situations where statistically, like, obviously very small sample size, but they came back on what I would consider to be their worst map mode in a series where they looked really, really flat for the first 2 maps. And I think that's really impressive for a team this young. Just generally, like, the age of this team is younger than most other teams in the league. They seem to be so smart. They seem to be really, like, quietly confident about their own skill, like, not cocky, but just, like, very, like, yes, we can recover. And I think it's great to see in a team this young, but also B, like, that's what good teams do, right? They beat the opponents they're supposed to beat, so they don't look shaky against them, but then they also dig deep when they have to in situations where it looks like statistically things are against them, and they turn it around. And we saw both of those things from Atlanta this past week.